Hello, everybody. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Zondag's Weekday Late Show. Today, we're going to talk about this great topic, how you're going to be very clear up there. So let's hit the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode. Like I said, welcome here at the Weekday Late Show, the Zondag's Weekday Late Show. My name is Maurice Zondag, and you're here live on Facebook and on YouTube, of course, as we do every day of the week. So it's very cool that you're here. If you're here, show me the hearts and the love, of course, and you can do that by clicking on the like button or the heart button. And of course, I keep doing it wrong, right? It's that one. Yeah. Hit me with the hashtag live if you're watching this live. If you're watching the replay, just give me a hashtag replay because we're going to talk today. And of course, we're also on the podcast again. So that's very cool. So cool. Wherever you're listening or watching, I'm very grateful that you're here. The show about personal development. Every day we're going to talk about subjects that will keep you growing in your life, make your life better, more healthier, more successful, keep you growing as a person, because that is in the essence where it's all about, people, right? I mean, we got to grow. If you're not growing, you're dead. It's a law of nature. It's that simple. So we're going to talk today about this subject that I kind of like discovered a couple of months ago. And, you know, it took me 46 years to discover this, right? 46 years ago, I came to this world. Well, it's longer now, but 46 years ago, before I knew, I came to this world and I just lived my life, right? I just did what I had to do. I grew up. I went to college. I went to school. I did my career. I did everything, right? I got married. I pretty much all about everything in the book is there. We had a certain way we lived. We had a certain way we ate. It's all part of the game that we're playing every day, right? You follow the rules and you keep doing what you're doing, and here we are. It's 2020 and the world has gone crazy. And it doesn't really change anything in who you are, does it? Well, of course, we're being affected by everyone in our surroundings. So 6 months ago, I came across this scientific research that has been done on how our body uses fuel, right? So you get the feeling, right? We eat. It can be the lunch, can be the dinners, what we eat. Breakfast, often not so much, but it could be still. You have your lunch. If you had your lunch and you had your dinner, and afterwards, you feel like you can run a marathon, right? Wrong. I mean, you don't get the energy by the food you're eating, right? You're getting the energy. Well, you're getting the energy. You're eating what you eat. And in these days, it's a lot of sugar in there and processed fruit. So for food, not only processed fruit, but also processed food. You get that and you eat that and it tastes wonderful, right? All the food that we got these days, it's wonderful. You can have all the seasons in one day. I mean, it doesn't matter where you live. If you're living in the Western world, you got food in abundance, right? You can have everything you want. You want to have tomatoes in the winter. You want to have strawberries in the winter. You want to have coal in the summer. It doesn't really matter where you are. You can have what you want to eat. And that is a problem, people, because when we eat certain things like that, you get fatigued. You're living in this cloud in your mind, and you don't even. I didn't even understand that, right? I was just living. I was just doing my stuff, building my life, right? Like all of you. And then this lady comes into my life, and this beautiful woman that is very good friend of mine, actually. She introduced me to a new way of feeding your body and, of course, also your brain with this new kind of super energy. But it's not scientifically or it's not produced in a laboratory, right? It's not something chemical or things like that. No, it's actually done by your body itself. It's being produced by your body. So, a little biology here. When you eat, and you eat something that spikes your blood sugar, like, for example, carbohydrates, like potatoes or chips, like that, right? Or pasta or bread. We eat a lot of bread, right? We love bread. So if you eat bread, your blood sugar rises. And then it means that your blood sugar, your glucose in your blood, has to be taken out of your blood so it can be used as energy. That's just main biology, right? We all know that. If you eat something, especially if it's sweet and if it's carbs, your blood sugar rises and you get your energy from it. I mean, if you want to work out, right, you eat a banana, right? We see all the tennis players do that, right? When they're sitting, puffing and huffing, huffing and puffing after some game they played, they eat a banana, so they have the energy. And it's funny because we model what we see, right? So when I play tennis at my own court, my club, I see people doing that as well, right? They eat a banana because Djokovic does it too, right? So that's just how it works. So we eat stuff so we get the energy. But sugar, glucose in that case, means that, I mean, it's common knowledge, right? We burn that energy, and especially if you work out, you're burning the energy. But glucose is not such a very efficient fuel actually, and it kinds of burns very quickly, like little twigs, right? You can start a fire by using the little twigs, but you're not burning the big fire, the bonfire, with only twigs, right? You got to burn the big heavy stuff that just lasts longer. That's more efficient in their uses of fuel. So we're burning this glucose as our main energy source because we are eating all day long, right? Maybe even 6 times a day, often, right? There's so many people do that. So you keep your metabolism burning, burning, burning because it has to, because all the glucose has to be gone, right? Because if you're not doing that, guess what? The glucose gets stored as fat, right? That's what happens. That's why so many people get overweight, because they store so many fat from all the glucose they ate. Now, there is this other alternative energy source. And it's very interesting because there for many years we thought, science thought, that our brain only used glucose as its main source, right? We've discovered that if you burn fat, that your body can use that as well as energy, right? We have our protein, and we use that as energy, right? We use it as building blocks of our muscles, things like that. So we all kind of know all that things, right? If you want to build muscle, you have to eat protein. But there is an alternative energy source that's in your body as well. And it kind of kicks in at the moment there is no more glucose. And that's an interesting thing. So that's what I learned, right? That's what I discovered. Not me personally, but I discovered it by someone who taught me. And those magical fuel energy source, right? Is like this supreme, this ultimate, like you put in your gas in your car as the ultimate gas, right? The premium gas. That's pretty much the same thing with this. It's this energy source, and they are called ketones. Now, let me show. Oh, I forgot to click on all these buttons. I got all these buttons on here because you have to move on, of course, to make your sound go on. And this is the subject of today, to declutter your cognitive capabilities by doing this. And I'm going to teach you what it is actually that you need to do. So this ultimate energy source is called ketones. Now, what are ketones? Well, ketones are, or ketone bodies actually, they are being created, produced as a byproduct by your liver. And your liver does that when it's burning the fat. Yes. So if you're burning fat, you're creating ketones. Now, when does your body start burning the fat? Well, your fat is the energy reserve, right? So it's from back in the day when we were hunters and gatherers, right? We were eating what we can so we can store as much as fat as we can to last longer when there would be a long time of fasting, when there would nothing to eat, right? In a winter period where there no things to eat, nothing to eat. So you have a longer period where you kind of have to run on your own system and make your system create its own energy. And it does that by burning the fat. So once you stop eating things that will spike your glucose level in your blood, because that's the main energy source, right? If we get glucose, it's like burning twigs. They'll burn fast, right? And if you keep pushing twigs into the fire, it will keep burning, right? So when you stop burning that fire with the glucose, your body starts to shift and it will start using fat as an energy source. Now, that can mean two things. It can be, if you were like me, if you were overweight and you had too much fat into your abdomen, right, and in your body itself, your organs, your inner, like inside of you, not what you actually could see. There are a lot of people that have fat inside their, in their livers and in their organs, and you don't see them as being fat, but they still are fat, and that's kind of a dangerous situation. I mean, if you see someone who's overweight, who's fat, who's obese, he's got a problem, and he or she knows it as well, of course. But there's so many people that think they're healthy because they're not fat, but they do have a fatty liver, right? So that's even more dangerous, I think, because you don't know. But once you start not eating any more carbs, or at least not so much carbs anymore, no bread in the morning every day, no potatoes in the evening every day, no pastas or dough or grains, things like that, you will lower your intake from that point of view. So you will have less carbs to burn, so there will be less glucose. So your glucose that you have, because there are carbs in so many things, even in broccoli there are carbs, right? So you'll get some carbs, and they'll get burned, right? They'll get burned by just what you do. But it also starts very quickly then to process this fat inside of you, or from the food that you're eating, and that will be used to create these ketones. Now, what they discovered, and this is really something that blew my mind, literally it blew my mind, ketones are also an energy source for your brain. Even stronger than that, ketones are the preferred energy source of your brain. So if your body has ketones and it has some glucose, your brain says, yo, give me the ketones, and put the glucose to somewhere you can use it in your muscles or whatever you're doing, but I want the ketones. And that's very interesting, because if you're putting the super fuel inside of your brain, there are crazy things happening. Now, a little neuroscience here. Your brain needs receptors to burn the energy from glucose, right? To use the energy from glucose inside the brain. And of course, there are all these neurological connections being made, and it needs these receptors to make that happen, right? That's how it works. Now, the problem is that when you age, the receptors stop doing their work more efficiently, right? They decrease, so you'll get less function in your brain, because it doesn't matter how much of sugar you take in, the amount of glucose that you can use at a certain moment of time, it needs to be broken down. It needs to be dealt by these receptors, and if there are no more receptors, or not doing so well anymore because they break down or they decrease, your brain functions really decrease. And that's exactly what's happening when you're getting older, right? So many people who get older, one of the reasons, so many people that are getting older, they feel and they see that their brain functions go down, right? They have memory loss, they can't find the right words to say, and even worse, they enter other states of dementia or Alzheimer's or things like that. And that it's not only that, right? But they're all part of this bigger story where these receptors are, not doing their job as efficient anymore since you were 30 or 40, right? Actually, it starts decreasing from your 30th year. So a lot of you already are on the downhill right now, right? Now, the beautiful thing is, and that was so interesting, and it's been, and there's so much research being done at this moment, and all these studies show so much more information about how this really works. But the first signs are there, and what they see is that your brain doesn't need to use any receptors to process the ketones and use it as energy, which means that you'll get the 100% of ketones that you put in there being used as energy. So you'll actually see that the neurons and the connections that are being made in your neurological network don't decrease as much, right? Because they get the energy they're using. So this funny thing happened when when I started using this method to create. I'll tell you later on how to create these ketones yourself, how you can do it yourself. It's really mind blowing what happened. A couple of years ago, I kind of discovered that I got ADD, which means that I have a attention deficit disorder, right? Which means that it's never quiet in my mind. I keep thinking every day. I keep talking to myself every day, and therefore I keep forgetting a lot, right? So I can walk from here to my kitchen, stand in my kitchen, find something interesting, see a bottle, and I said, "Oh yeah, I want to have some water." So I come back and I put it on my water. I said, "Oh wait, I wanted to have coffee." Right? That happened daily, on a daily basis. It's just and so I get distracted a lot, right? Since I've been using this methodology of creating the ketones and using ketones as my primary energy source, I actually improved. It's getting more quiet in my head. I get more peaceful in my mind. Actually, I remember more. I can. It's like this cloud has been blown away, and all of a sudden I can think more clearly. I feel more focused. I feel more energized. And what disappeared, which is not so much because of the ketones per se, but more of the lack of all the glucose. After you eat, your blood sugar rises, right? So you got to put it down. So your insulin spikes, so it can put the glucose down in your blood, and that will make you fatigue, right? So after you have your after lunch dip or your after dinner dip, is because of the amount of sugar in your blood, and once it goes down again, you'll be better. You'll feel better, right? And that disappeared too. So I have like this constant source of energy throughout the whole day. Even now, right? It's 11 p.m., 11:17 right now here where I live. And I feel great, right? I don't feel like, oh, I'm tired. I worked all day, right? I had a 2-hour call just before this call. I've been busy today, right? I did a lot of stuff, but I'm not tired. So I'm not like, oh man, I just need to sit down and just relax and do nothing anymore, because no. And when I want to go to bed, I go to bed, and normally I'll go to sleep and sleep, right? So there's been this flatliner in a good way of my energy source, which is amazing, right? So ketones has really opened my eyes, really opened my eyes. And ketones is therefore the superpower, the super fuel for my brain. So using ketones as my energy source actually helps me throughout the whole day. And so let's transition into the next thing. And I want to share this little short video clip with you where this scientist will explain exactly what's happening and what the true benefits are of all ketones. So it'll take 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So let's check this out.
So today we're going to just talk about ketones as brain fuel. So ketones as fuel for the brain. The brain weighs about 1.5 kilograms. A typical human male is maybe 70 to 80 kilograms. So that would be about 1 to 2% of his body weight. So it's not a lot. So the brain is about 1 to 2% of your body weight. It consumes 100 to 150 grams of glucose at rest per day. And it consumes 20% of your VO2 at rest. So that means the energy demands at rest that your body has, 20% of it is from your brain. So even though it only weighs 1 to 2%, it demands 20% of your energy needs. So it's a very needy tissue. So during starvation, how does this needy tissue survive? Well, whenever you're not keto adapted, your brain is fueled by glucose, pretty much, 100% glucose, pretty much. And so whenever let's say you went to starvation or prolonged fasting, you're going to start depleting your glucose stores, glycogen in your liver and your muscles. And then you're also going to have something called gluconeogenesis occur, which is in the liver, just production of new glucose molecules. And so gluconeogenesis can supply 17 to 32 grams of glucose per day. Your brain needs at least 100 grams of glucose. And then your glycogen stores will deplete and to supply the rest so that you can survive maybe 10 days if your brain just used glucose. Luckily, our brains can use ketones as well. So we can't use fat for our brains directly, but fat can be broken down, and then ketones can be used, and the liver can produce up to 150 grams of ketones per day. So that's going to help really supply the brain in times of starvation, and it allows you to survive up to 73 days versus 10 days, and hopefully find some food. Ketones are also neuroprotective. They provide energy. They're a direct energy molecule. And then also they stimulate the increase of machinery that produces energy, like mitochondria. So they provide energy in multiple ways. They reduce oxidative stress in the brain. Apoptosis. Apoptosis is just cell death, brain cell death. So they reduce that. And then they also increase cerebral blood flow. So the blood flow going to the brain, which is good because that provides more nutrients to the brain and then gets rid of waste products, which helps fuel the brain.
Right. So what you see here is, I know it's a lot of science talk there, right? There's a lot of things that doesn't make any sense to you if you're not into science. But in the essence, our brain needs a lot of fuel, and ketones is like the super fuel for our brain. So she mentioned this a little bit in the beginning of the video, where you can actually trigger this yourself. There are two ways you can get ketones into your brain, right? And without injecting it or drilling it in there. No, there are two ways. And there's an easy way and a less easy way. So let's start with the easy way. The easy way is drinking it as a exogenous ketone drink. It's a supplement you can drink. It's a powder. You mix it up with water. You just drink it and you get the ketones inside of your body. It's actually what I do in the morning to start up my day, right? Because it's also added with some caffeine and some vitamins and all the other micronutrients that'll help you to improve my immune system. So it'll give me a boost in the morning, and drink it throughout the whole morning. And it actually will lower my hunger feeling, because you're not hungry, because you have energy, right? It's there. The ketones are there. So you're not depletion of any hunger. So then I also can skip my breakfast. And then we come to the second one, which is maybe a little bit less easy. If you do prolonged fasting or intermittent fasting, your body starts creating these ketones itself, right? So your liver starts creating these ketones because there's no glucose anymore. Because when you eat, you get a little bit of glucose, then your body gets all the glucose out of your blood and starts using it as energy. And there comes a time then, and mostly it's about 12 hours. It takes about 12 hours to use pretty much all the glucose in your body. And after 12 hours, your glucose levels are so low that your body starts transferring into ketosis. You're keto adapted, what she called it, right? Your body is using the ketones, it's creating the ketones and not anymore the glucose. So that's how you start using and creating your own ketones, which you can use for your own energy source. I run 10 kilometers on ketones. A good friend of mine just sent me a picture today that he actually ran, 21, 22 kilometers today without any food, without any breakfast or anything. He ran for 3 hours, right? On ketones. That's amazing, right? I mean, there's so many endurance athletes out there that are actually using this so they can prolong their energy in a far more efficient way. So it's not only for the brain very well and efficient, but it's also for our body, for our muscles, right? And the whole system that we're using. So by using intermittent fasting, and which means that you are eating in a very close window, right? You can do it within 18 hours of not eating, and then of course you have 6 hours you can eat. So if you have lunch at 12 and have dinner at 6, and after that you don't eat anymore. So you'll have 18 hours before the next day, and in these 12 to 6 to 18 hours, those 6 hours, you'll burn all the fat. So when you want to lose weight, that's an awesome way to lose weight, right? That's what I did, actually. I changed my diet in such a way that I use my intermittent fasting to burn my body fat, right? Which is in essence the same kind of fat that you can eat from eating fatty foods, the right fatty foods, right? And by eating that or not eating, my body starts burning its own fat and use it as ketones. Now, combined with a supplement, that makes it even more easier, right? It doesn't really bother me anymore. I can skip breakfast without any problem, especially if I drink those ketones. But even when I don't drink the ketones, I'm in ketosis. So my body keeps producing these ketones and burning the fat. So it will actually help me doing that. Now, another way of getting into ketosis or staying into ketosis is using the ketogenic diet. You might have heard of that. Ketogenic diet makes sense, right? The keto diet. And a keto diet says, if you take a look, if we just see, there are three main ingredients we have in our foods, right? There's carbohydrates. They're either carbohydrates, they're either protein, or they're either fats. That's like our three major nutrients we have. It's also called the macronutrients. So if you lower one of them, that means in reference to the others, they will rise, right? They will go up in percentage wise. So if you lower your calorie or not lowering your calorie intake, but keep the same calorie intake a day, because you don't want to screw up your metabolism. You don't want to create a depletion of food inside of your system for a longer period of time. So your metabolism will start adapting and start burning slower. Now you want to keep the same amount of calories, but you want to lower the carb intake, which means that if you do it to about 5, say 10% max of your carb intake a day, then your protein will rise. But if you do that for say 20-25%, the rest can be fatty foods. And now fat food isn't bad for you. It's something we've learned for so many years, right? You get fat by eating fat. No, well, actually, you get fat by eating sugar. And you can get fat by anything. If you overeat on anything, you'll get fat, right? There's just there's too much of it to process, and it will get stored as fat as well. But if you keep eating the same amounts and you keep doing what you're doing, maybe you do some exercising as well, right? That's totally cool, of course. But if you switch the scale and use the fat more as your main fuel source, you'll start using that fat, even if you're not overweight, right? It will use that fat to use it as your energy source. And the crazy thing is that your brain will be so thankful, right? You'll be more focused. You'll have more energy, more throughout the day, right? Like that. It's just incredible. I'm so thankful that I've discovered this. And so for the last 6 months, I've been pretty much in ketosis. And, especially if I combine it with exogenous ketones. So when I do have a day where, I had this birthday the other day where my nephew was his birthday. So of course I ate some cake, and of course in cake, there's a lot of sugar, right? So you get kind of kicked out of ketosis. But when I keep going back to the ketogenic diet and intermittent fasting, I'll be in ketosis within just a couple of hours, days, or whatever it is, right? So I keep using these ketones as my main energy source. And that keeps me running all day. It keeps me going all day. It gives me the energy. And it doesn't give me the fatigue feeling of after dinner dips. I don't have after dinner dips anymore. I don't have to do an afternoon nap or anything like that. No, I'll keep it just like that. So if you want to know more about this, just hit me with the comments, right? Just tell me in the comments, and I'll help you to some resources where you can find, or I maybe could help you myself using that. It's one of the basic things that I think will help you create a healthy lifestyle, right? Because there's so much around that, with eating the right vegetables and eating the right stuff and not processed food and not sugar food, things like that. So if you create that healthy lifestyle, you will actually increase your health There's so many benefits in using ketones in your food as your main energy source. So if you want to know more, just hit on, talk to me on the comments or hit me on masteryourpersonality.com, and we'll dive right into that as well, of course. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. And thank you so much for being here. If you like this type of videos, come back every day from Monday to Friday. We're right here at the same time, same place, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn. I post them as well on LinkedIn, so you can watch it there as well. Of course, we're bounded to the 10 minutes there. That's why we cut it off, but I'm glad you're here as well. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Don't forget to hit me with the likes and the loves and the subscribes, of course. Hit it up there, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Cheers. Bye-bye. Okay. Keto.